In the heart of New York City, Lemuel Gulliver's ordinary life takes an unexpected twist when he meets new colleagues and stumbles into a world of adventure. What starts as a routine job quickly turns into a journey full of surprises and danger. As Gulliver is thrown into a fantastical realm, he faces tough challenges and uncovers secrets that test his bravery. With his future on the line, Gulliver's incredible adventure leads to a dramatic and surprising ending, changing his life forever. In the vibrant heart of New York City, Lemuel Gulliver, an unassuming man who has spent the last decade working diligently in a mailroom, crosses paths with Dan Quint, a new hire, in the bustling corridors of their crowded office. Amidst the daily chaos, Gulliver also encounters Darcy Silverman, though his attempts at interaction reveal his discomfort in social situations. As they share an elevator ride, Darcy tries to engage him in small talk, but Gulliver's awkwardness prevails. The situation takes a turn when Dan, who has recently been promoted and is now Gulliver's supervisor, enters the scene. Dan delivers a candid critique, urging Gulliver to break free from his long-established routine and confront the reality that he needs to step out of his comfort zone, rather than merely going through the motions of his life. As he exits the office, Lemuel Gulliver finally musters the courage to approach Darcy. However, his nerves get the better of him, and in a moment of uncertainty, he hastily grabs a travel application form and prepares to leave. In an attempt to impress Darcy, he claims to be an avid traveler, despite this being far from the truth. Yet, despite his bluff, Darcy offers him praise for his effort, commending him for taking the initiative to step outside of his comfort zone. He spent the night in restless contemplation, trying to figure things out. Then, an idea struck. He started copying articles from different websites. The next day, it felt like reading a scripted drama. He was on the brink of getting caught. Remember, plagiarism is wrong, don't do it. Despite this, he was assigned a 3-week analysis of the Bermuda Triangle. Without missing a beat, he lied, saying,
"I'm a boatman."
He arrives in Bermuda, where a driver takes him to the coast and guides him to a boat headed for the Bermuda Triangle. After some time at sea, his radio fails, leaving him stranded in the middle of nowhere. He awakens to a storm with massive waves, almost like a tsunami, and loses all connections. Just then, a giant water storm engulfs him, transporting him to another world. When he regains consciousness, he finds himself paralyzed from the neck down, only to realize he's been bound by ropes, surrounded by small men who resemble medieval soldiers. He stood up, causing chaos, believing it was all just a dream, until their military general shot a spear at his shoe. Lilliputian guards tried to restrain him with hooks, but he collapsed onto them and lost consciousness. When he awoke, he was presented to the Queen of Lilliput and asked her how he got there and where he was. A high-ranking official responded,
"You are in Lilliput?"
Gulliver, now captured and sitting in a massive cave, was given hay to eat by the tiny men, which he found somewhat insulting. He heard a voice and leaned forward to see a small man named Horatio standing behind bars, placed there by General Edward because both men liked Princess Mary. As Horatio explained his situation, Gulliver called him a lame ass, but when Edward suddenly appeared, Gulliver tried to impress him by giving a false definition of the insult. Edward responded,
"I'm a big lame ass, the biggest lame ass in all of the land."
Gulliver was then assigned a task. Meanwhile, the Lilliputians' enemies, led by Blefuscu, were stealthily approaching. To move in quietly, and the lighting of bombs set off loud alarms, catching Edward's attention. Edward directed Gulliver to intercept the infiltration. Mary rushed to see hooks attached to the ledge. Blefuscu's men were there to kidnap her. Edward ordered Gulliver to crouch so he could jump from him and charge at the invaders. Meanwhile, Horatio freed Gulliver to help in the fight. As the kidnappers seized Mary, Gulliver arrived just in time, tossing the men into a pond and carrying Mary with him. When Edward reached the roof, he found no one there. Gulliver gently set Mary down on the ground. Her father was trapped in a burning building. Gulliver rushed to save him as Mary's father, believing his life was ending, began to sing. To save them, Gulliver extinguished the fire by urinating on the building, rescuing King Theodore in the process. The crowd cheered for Gulliver as their savior. That evening, he was invited to a celebration with Horatio. During dinner, Gulliver falsely claimed he was the President of the United States. Impressed, they proposed building something for him and eventually constructed a massive home just for him to live in. They even built a drama room where everyone could join Gulliver in watching scenes from Star Wars and Titanic, which he claimed were his own stories. One evening, Horatio asked Gulliver for advice on how to impress Mary. Later, Horatio proposed to Mary using the cheesy lines Gulliver had suggested, and she was genuinely impressed. As she entered her room that evening, she found Edward waiting, ready to bore her with his dull conversation. Edward arrived to announce they had finally found Gulliver's boat. Gulliver then checked a voicemail and was disheartened to hear that his copied articles had been discovered, and now someone else would have to endure seasickness to cover the story for him. Edward then informed Gulliver that they would build a boat for his return journey. While Gulliver sat alone for some peace, Mary confided her dilemma. She was torn between choosing Horatio and Edward. Gulliver advised her to choose Horatio. Later, Gulliver contemplated staying in Lilliput rather than returning to the real world. Mary assured him that everyone would be pleased if he decided to stay. The next day, Gulliver was appointed the new general, giving Edward a break and promoting him to vice general. Offended by the demotion, Edward disabled all security systems, leaving Gulliver vulnerable. The enemies, alerted by the lapse in defenses, launched a mortar attack on the kingdom. As the enemies advanced, sensing the lapse in security, Gulliver was alarmed. He inquired about his course of action and was instructed to repel the attackers. He approached the enemy, seeking a peaceful resolution, but they responded by firing mortars at him. Miraculously, the mortars backfired. Gulliver then seized the anchors and pulled all the enemy ships toward the king, impressing everyone with his bold actions. He treated himself to a back massage, a haircut, and a new general's uniform. Gulliver then ordered everyone to revamp the city while enjoying the rock band in the drama room. He advised Horatio to make a move on Mary before he ended up in the friend zone. They rehearsed together, using the cheesiest lines possible.
Well, hello, fine maiden with the wide, childbearing hips.
In the castle, Edward barged into Mary's room, holding a drink. Mary, suffering from a headache and uninterested in courtship, admitted she was not interested in him. When she asked Edward what he liked about her, he was speechless. She then shouted, "Get out!" Meanwhile, Gulliver had recreated a lavish version of Times Square in Lilliput. Driven by jealousy, Edward went to the enemy's kingdom to develop robots designed to combat Gulliver. Everyone in Lilliput was enjoying themselves, but when Mary invited Horatio to the ball, he tried to act cool and ended up getting slapped by her. As the clock struck 5, chaos ensued as everyone scrambled. It turned out to be just a small robot Edward had constructed. "Look at this thing, it's quite cute." Edward, having betrayed the king and allied with Blefuscu, challenged Gulliver. He transformed the cute little robot into a massive one, but despite its size, Gulliver couldn't even budge Edward. He then lifted Gulliver by his underwear and demanded his surrender. Eventually, Gulliver confessed that he had lied about everything, revealing he was not who he had claimed to be. Blefuscu marched in with his soldiers, and Edward took Gulliver aboard a raft, abandoning him on a remote island where he shouldn't be. Suddenly, Gulliver found himself trapped in a jar. Mary confronted Horatio, accusing him of being deceptive just like Gulliver. Eventually, Darcy was captured by Edward, causing her to panic. Gulliver, now on a different island, found himself dressed as a lady in a giant's house, serving as her play doll. She threatened him with severe repercussions for defiance, which compelled him to comply. That night, he noticed a skeleton inside a fighter pilot's suit before going to bed in his dollhouse. Meanwhile, Horatio set sail to the island and arrived the next day, confronting the scene before him. Gulliver confessed that he had lied to everyone because he relished being a big shot for the first time in his life. Motivated by Horatio, he escaped from the dollhouse, taking a parachute from the skeleton. They flew back to Lilliput, where Gulliver met Darcy. He found her trapped in shackles and declared his desire to help the Lilliputians. He also admitted that he had harbored a crush on her for the past 5 years. Gulliver freed the king and urgently sought his help, asking him to return as their general. The following day, a tense crowd gathered as Gulliver faced off against the massive robot. Edward, with a menacing tone, threatened to annihilate Lilliput if Gulliver was defeated. The battle commenced with Edward unleashing a relentless barrage of electric shocks, each one more intense than the last. Amidst the chaos, Horatio, determined to turn the tide, rode a horse with precision, making his way into the robot's interior. He expertly sabotaged the robot's shock system, causing it to malfunction. As the robot's attacks grew erratic, Gulliver seized the opportunity. With newfound control, he engaged in a fierce struggle, finally overpowering the colossal machine. The robot, now subdued, was reduced to its original small size, restoring a sense of relief and victory to Lilliput. Horatio was celebrated and admired by the ladies, particularly winning Mary's heart with his charm and receiving the king's blessing. Just as things seemed to be settling down, Edward reappeared, announcing that he had kidnapped Mary. Mary punched Edward in the face, causing him to faint. Even Darcy, moved by Gulliver's bravery, kissed him in gratitude for his heroic actions. Gulliver then urged everyone to embrace peace and harmony through a grand musical performance. As he conducted a symphony, everyone joined in a lively dance, celebrating the newfound unity. Cheers filled the air as they prepared to leave for New York. Gulliver, now more confident, shared a final lunch with his friends. Their extraordinary adventure in Lilliput soon became famous, a celebrated tale of bravery and camaraderie. As Gulliver's incredible adventure draws to a close, he emerges not just as a hero, but as a symbol of courage and transformation. If you enjoyed this tale of bravery and discovery, don't forget to subscribe for more exciting stories and adventures.